Hello and welcome to the Radiate Wellness Podcast with your host, metaphysician, Reiki master, and hypnotherapist, Christy Clemens Hoffman. Each week, we will discover teachings, tips, and tools to radiate your best life ever with practitioners, authors, and luminaries to help you on your path. Wellness, joy, peace, abundance. What do you want to radiate?
Hello and welcome back to the Radiate Wellness Podcast. Today we radiate belief with Laura Saltman, who is an author, mindfulness, meditation, and metaphysical teacher. Right up my alley. How are you today, Laura? Thank you so much for joining me today.
I'm good. Thank you. I'm excited to be radiating belief. A belief is something that you definitely have to work towards. And it's not inherent within us. It's not how our brain operates. So we always have to build up our mental, spiritual, and emotional health in order to get to that level of belief.
Yeah. Well, so how do you go about teaching belief?
I think, it's interesting to ask that question because it's like, am I teaching belief or am I reminding you of belief? Because I think we all have beliefs. They've just been squashed. Like we got them, we smushed them out of us. We're like grapes and we just kept stomping them out of us. And then, we see the proof so many times that what we want isn't working or it's not coming to us. And then we let that run our life and unfortunately give up on many things. But I also would say that if you look at your life as example and you go back through your life, you would find many examples of when you actually did create something wonderful for yourselves. We just automatically shift into the negative in our brain and we forget all of these wonderful things. So that it's really my teaching style is just to remind you that it is within you, that what you desire for a reason. It's waiting for you to sort of like step into it and become whole again so we can bring it through.
Oh, I think that's beautiful. And, it's so funny because you use the metaphor of stomping these things down like grapes. I had a client this afternoon who it was, just stomping down all this emotion, stomping down grief. Just so it's funny that you use the same metaphor that I did today. Now, you've got some really cool stuff going on that you do. I mean, you're a medium / channel, you're a past life guide. I mean, all of these things are things that I do as well. And I wanted to just ask you a bit about all of this, but I want to start off with maybe the books that you've written, because you are an author.
Yeah, so my books are called The All. That's sort of my version of whatever you believe in as the source, the creator, the infinite intelligence, the universe. So that's what The All represents. And it's just about how we are all the all, that each and every one of us is a spark of this divine intelligence and it lives inside of us and we are a part and parcel of it. And so in the middle of the night, one I don't know, June evening, I just sat down in the middle of the night and my life was a mess. Like it was just awful. It's very similar to the story that Neil Donald Walsh has told about how he wrote Conversations with God. And I was just like super pissed off with life. So I just sat and I just started writing like, why is my life so horrible? Why did bad things happen? I don't understand. Why did I lose this baby? Why did this happen? Why did my brother die of cancer? Why did my dad die from suicide? Just kept asking and asking. And surprisingly, as I was asking, the answers just kept pouring out of me. And in the beginning was very just little snippets of information. And then I would say somewhere, I don't know, maybe like a week or two into it, I realized I was like maybe 50 pages in. And I was like, okay, I think I'm onto something here. And I think this might be a book. And I wrote my first book in 6 weeks I just lost my earring. I'm telling you, it's a mini Mercury in retrograde day. Everything's going wrong.
So you are having a personal retrograde day.
Yeah. And I wrote it in 6 weeks and I never changed one word from the moment I started typing it out. And I will say type because I don't actually write. I have like the worst handwriting on the planet. But when I typed it out, I sent it to a copy editor. And I just said, you're not allowed to change any of the words. You can add grammar and punctuation and anything that I messed up as a human part of myself, but I just know it's accurate. And so I just had this calling, which I think many of us in this industry, I guess we'll say, who do this for a living, have that calling, and you feel that purpose. And then from there, I wrote a second book in about 2 months. And then I wrote a third book in about 6 months. And then the fourth book, it took me about 2 years. And that's just simply because I was busy promoting what I was doing during the course of that fourth book. But, and there's other books that I'm currently working on as well, but I know they're going to take a little longer just because I don't have that same amount of time where I just got to sit down in the middle of the night. Also, I set an intention, please don't wake me up in the middle of the night anymore at one point, because I was like done. I'm like, I don't want to get up at 3 a.m. and write books anymore. I'm like, can we please do this at a more opportune time? And so eventually I phased out of the middle of the night stuff.
Absolutely. You got to set boundaries.
Yes, yes, you do.
Yes, and so all of your books that you do have, they're all from the wisdom of all.
Yes, they're all the all. It's just me channeling as this infinite intelligence. It's similar to, I said, conversations with God. Like I'm sitting having a conversation with this higher intelligence, this divine intelligence. And I'm being able to ask questions. I started my career as an entertainment reporter working for Access Hollywood. I've interviewed all these A-list stars. Well, ultimately, I just became the interviewer for the most A-list star that exists on Earth. And because I was a journalist, it became very easy for me to flow with that format of, question, answer, question, answer.
Right. And so it sounds like you just spontaneously started channeling the all.
Yes. It's interesting though, because I had been journaling prior to that as I sort of started my spiritual awakening, which started when my dad died from suicide. I just needed something to help me because I wasn't going to make it with all the other things I had been through and the loss of my brother. So I started working with a spiritual life coach, and she turned me onto this whole idea of talking to spirit and communing with people on the other side. And I kind of knew I had something going on with me because I was always able to sense spirits around. I would get like words and phrases, and I'd usually be accurate if I would say that to the person I was with, or if I was in a group. So I knew there was something there. So I had started journaling and kind of writing out some questions and some answers, or just like if I heard things, I would write them down, not realizing that what I was doing is exactly what all of us are capable of doing, is connecting into this infinite intelligence. So I didn't know I had that until later on in the journey. And then I went back, I was like, oh, that's what I was doing. I was just getting these divine downloads without me even knowing it.
Right. And it sounds like all of this started after great tragedy in your life.
Yeah. So my brother passed from cancer when he was 47 years old. And then I lost my father from suicide. I had a couple of miscarriages back to back. I was trying to adopt, and those ended up in failure. And then, like, just to add insult to injury, both my beloved dogs passed away in this time period. And my career was really just like in the tanker. It was just going south because I had changed. My life had changed. I was going through so much emotionally. And I wasn't all there. I wasn't 100% there. So I kind of lost my will for my career. And so that made a huge impact on my life as well. But it's also what got me into this line of work and what I do now. So you can focus on the tragedies and focus on what's not working, or you can figure out how to make your life work again.
Right. Absolutely. I the people I see, I often tell them, you're not coming to me because your life is awesome and because your life is just going great. So it's usually these periods of growth that we just find so transformative. That's when we can really make the biggest shifts. And so, yeah, things were going kind of crazy for you. And we have some similarities. I have a fertility journey that just did not go anywhere. Never far enough along to have a miscarriage, but then ended up adopting a beautiful, beautiful daughter, and she was just the light of my life. And so I know that it's it's hard, and it's, oh man, it's so close to the heart. All of that, all of that. Yeah, it sounds like the role of these tragedies, and I'm so sorry about your brother and your father. These tragedies had something to do with that catalyst to bring it forward, right?
Yeah. What was always inside of me. I've been sensing something about myself since I was in my late 20s, and I didn't really know what it is. And I always felt like different than people, that I had a bigger sense of things. And, working and living in a superficial world, which is what I did when I worked in Hollywood,
Yeah.
I really was able to stay out of the noise of it, the fray of it, some of the pitfalls of Hollywood, because I had this deeper sense of something. And I think that's what kept me along that path. And then, but I never understood what it was. And it's so interesting, because I'm sure this happens to you as well, where people come to you at various stages in this journey, some of them not knowing anything, some people recognizing a little bit. And then every once in a while you get someone who knows exactly what you're talking about. It's not like you're speaking a foreign language, and they get it. And I think even that part of our journeys is we have to know everyone's steps so that we can speak to them. I can do a podcast with you. We can talk about past lives, in reincarnation. We can talk about all sorts of stuff, but then I'll do something with someone else, and I just automatically will have a knowing that that's not the words to use. That's not how to speak. And I'll speak to that, because I know inherently who will show up and watch or listen, and what they need to hear. So I think it's just building those skills. And I'm sure you can agree, going back through your life, all of the building blocks of what you're doing now help you when you're working with people, because you have all of these things to pull from. And I love what someone once said about, it only takes one extra rung up the ladder for you to reach back and help somebody up it. So you can be just that one step ahead and just have a little bit more access to this divine intelligence that can help them, that maybe they just don't have it yet. Or maybe some people don't even want it, and they just needed that message from you for that particular moment in time.
Yeah. Oh, that's absolutely right. Absolutely. And, you are a polymath like I am, interested in all of it, and, pretty well versed in just about anything anybody would want to know in terms of the metaphysical and spiritual realms. So same, right? I see that you do, okay, what is this with past lives? Yes, you do, some past life work. You'd mentioned that. Tell me about that.
Oh, past lives are amazing. First of all, there's no such thing as past lives.
Exactly. I know.
But we say it that way because it's just easier. But it's really this, the concept that all lives are happening simultaneously. So everything is happening. Everything in this infinite universe, multiverse, whatever we want to call it, is happening. And so it only is linear because we're in a physical space, which has linear time. Right. So when we're tapping in, it's basically like, the way I always describe it, it's like having a supercomputer, and we all have access to the same supercomputer. And some of us just know how to use it really, really well. And some of us haven't even opened the door to this library. So all I do is and I'm sure you work very similarly, is I just close my eyes and I tap into that infinite supercomputer, and I'm able to like pull up information, and I'm very visual. So I get like a movie screen, and then the movie screen will pop up like I'm at the drive-in, and then I'll start to see like images of people's other lifetimes. And it goes back like probably as far as like cavemen is about as far as I've gone. I find that the easier access is when it's been a life that is more closely to you in linear time. And then if it's a little further back, we have to go deeper into our subconscious mind to dig that out. I've also had the experience many times over and over again where people struggle because I would say it's spiritual confusion, because they're not accustomed to being on earth as much as some of us. Like, I'm an earth person. I like earth, even though it's challenging. I've been here so many times, so I kind of get the game. But other people who come from other places and spaces, it can be very challenging for them to handle life on earth, and they don't get the rules. And so they struggle in that. And I've been able to like go what I call off planet to many different places. And what's so fascinating about it and why I love this work is when you hit upon these things that are happening in these other incarnations, these other realities, I hear the gasps of people like, oh my God, like that's the way I am, or that's why I have neck pain. Like there's no explanation, earthly explanation whatsoever why I have this, or I have this mark on my left wrist and I don't know where that mark came from. And then without me even knowing they have the mark on the wrist, I will tell them about something that happened, like they were branded in that spot. So it's just so fascinating how people can learn about themselves and why they are the way they are in this particular body, in this particular life that they remember, through knowing about all of their other lifetimes. And the reason I don't like using the word past lives is we can also tap into their future possibilities. So lives that they may be leading once they're done with this particular incarnation, they can know what's to come. Like for me, I know 2 of my next lifetimes, and there's challenges within them, but they don't have to overcome what I'm overcoming. So they're already like doing really well in their careers. Whereas me, I had to overcome worthiness and value, and I'm still working on that in this lifetime. But I guess eventually I get it, because in my next couple of lifetimes, I'm doing some magic in the world. So it's really interesting. I love it. I wish everybody would find this type of work and find practitioners like you and me, and realize that the answers are within themselves. And we're just helping bring that out of them.
Yeah, these answers do just help every aspect of life, don't you think?
Oh, 100%. I've seen it be life-changing and life-altering for people. The messages that come and the images that come in. And the less skeptical you are, the more you will get. Because if you come in skeptical, you get what you expect. So we live under law of attraction, that which is like unto itself is drawn. So if you come in already skeptical, chances are you're going to get many skeptical things. But I'm very confident that there will be things for you that are going to make you go, how would that person ever know that? I don't know. I mean, there's no way they could have known that. But then you're going to get that circle of skepticism, because that's basically what you came in and attracted. But when I get these people that come in that are so open, that totally get it, it's like, wow, like mind blowing what can come in for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I know that all of us, when we're born, we have this ability to get that information for ourselves. We have that ability to connect, the ability to receive. And then we can either choose to work with it, or we can choose to not work with it. Now, do you also help people to develop this innate quality? Yeah.
I do. Yeah. So I didn't really know where I was going to go with this career. I didn't know what I was going to do with it. I was an entertainment reporter. I was a host. And so in the beginning stages, I still kind of towed the line between both. But then as I had written my 4th book, I realized that like I had my own Laura Bible, like of how the universe operates, how the infinite operates. And I had a lot of information. And then I was also teaching these like incredibly powerful guided meditations, which I really call medascensions, because they're meditations that are about ascending. They're verbal and visual, and it's helping people get to that next level. And the more I did that, the more I was like, wow, I feel like I might be an actual teacher of this, and this is what I meant to do. So I leaned into that, started teaching spiritual development courses with another practitioner. And then eventually I just knew that I was meant to teach this course. And so I teach what's called infinite abilities. And it's about unlocking your infinite abilities, because yes, like, can you do the mediumship? Can you do the channeling? Can you do past life work? Can you do all of the woo? Yes, absolutely. But I think it's incredibly important that you actually understand who you are from the bottom to the top. You can go to a mediumship course, but if that person is teaching you just how to talk to spirit on the other side, you're not getting the full enchilada there. You're only getting pieces of the puzzle. So I have a 1-year program where people can know from top to bottom who they are. So we're not diving into mediumship right in the beginning. We're actually learning about who we are each step of the way, so that your abilities begin to open within you. Because when I took courses, when I took a mediumship course, I never knew, that's not what I was taught. I was just taught how to connect to spirit. Nobody taught me how to channel. I actually just started channeling. It just sort of came out of nowhere. And what I found, and maybe you found as well, is the more you ascend up that ladder of enlightenment, the more abilities you start to open up, and you'll be like, oh, now I do that now. Oh, I didn't know I could do that. Oh, I can do that now. Like, that's how it's been with me. I remember one time I went to this channeling session with this wonderful woman, and this was like years ago. And I was like, okay, I cannot do that. There's no way I can channel. That's not happening. And then it took me like about 6 months. And then I was in a session. I was like, I don't know why, but I feel like this person who's coming through wants to talk, like, for me to talk for them. I'm like, I don't know how it's going to go, but let's do it. And then I did it, and it was amazing. And then I did it again. And for a while I had that ego, that fear of channeling in person. If somebody asked me to channel on a podcast or anything, I would always be like, no. Because it was just me. Like, it was the fear of being judged by them. It's me judging myself. But once I let that go, then I really leaned into channeling. Then it became amazing, because then I was channeling for the collective. I was channeling for individual spirits. And it's just really beautiful and powerful when you can feel like you're talking to someone. It's definitely not everybody's cup of tea. That is for sure, to either be a channel or to hear a channel. But it is incredible. It really is.
Did you know that Radiate Wellness is more than just a podcast? That's right. We're also a comprehensive holistic wellness practice. Find out about our services, practitioners, and upcoming events at radiatewellnesscommunity.com. While you're there, visit our podcast page to read more about our great guests and even donate to the podcast. If you like our podcast, you can help in other ways as well, like subscribe or follow us wherever you're listening right now. Tell a friend, a family member, or a coworker about the great content you find here. And if you wouldn't mind, please give us a thumbs up, a 5-star rating, or a positive review. Sounds like a small thing, but it really helps. You might like to know about our Facebook communities while we're at it. We have a free community, the Radiate Wellness Community, on Facebook for news and great free content. Our subscribers group is Radiate You, as in the letter U, but also, well, you. There you'll find curated replays of past classes, guest interviews, and more. And now, back to our podcast and back to our guest. It is. Yeah, I do this work myself, and I just feel this sensation in my throat, and I say, okay, I need to get out of the way. Somebody's going to talk. And it is amazing. You get that energy through you, and they really connect with the person that you're talking with. And yeah, there's nothing like it. It's quite amazing. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to throw it back to you, because I want to ask the question, like, how did you overcome your own isness? Like, how did you get let go of the ego? And then how did you overcome, like, when people kind of look at you like you have 15 heads? Because that, it doesn't happen as often as it did, because I think people know me who come to me, they already know I do it. But I think, like, people do sort of look at you. It's very hard for someone to really believe that their loved one is coming through. So how did you overcome that?
Well, you're assuming that I did.
I love that. Maybe we can help overcome it together. I don't know.
There you go. I mean, it's always terrifying, right? It's like, okay, am I going to be able to maintain this connection? Is this even going to make sense to the person? Is this really who I think it is coming through? Yeah, it's terrifying. I'm not going to lie to you, Laura. You know how it is, but it's the work is so important, and you know that it's so helpful that, you know, I just get over myself, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's true. It's easier for me to channel as the all, so to speak, to channel for the collective and bring through these, like, beautiful collective messages, which I already was doing in my Meta-Ascensions anyway. It's more challenging when you're channeling someone who was human and physical and is now non-physical, because you really want to honor them and get it right. But I always know when I've gotten it and people really like hear something that I could never have known is when I hear the tears and the crying. And then I'm like, okay, I'm on it. Because I don't trance. I remember Jane Roberts, who wrote the Seth material. She's a trance channel. Like she doesn't really remember what she channels.
Right, Edgar Cayce, yeah.
Yeah, I don't trance. I actually am very conscious, and I try to put Laura aside as much as possible so that I can, truly bring in the words. But I am able to hear some of what's happening. It's just I speak a lot faster, and I was saying the other day on Instagram when I was doing a channeling that I take a lot of filler words. It takes me a while to like find my words and what I want to say. But when I'm channeling, it's kind of like my books. Like the words are just there. I never have to think. There's no ums or anything like that. It's just like boom, 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 boom. And that's how I know it is 100% me channeling.
You see, I'm kind of the opposite of you. When I'm channeling someone's loved one, I guess that I think I connect so much with the client and their heart and just have so much, feel that love for that specific person that it feels different than channeling. So I channel someone named Adonai, and I channel Mary Magdalene, Michael, and various beings. And it's just different. But yeah, that's so funny that you say that your voice just picks up speed, and someone said it sounded like I was rapping or something.
Yeah, there is a different cadence, especially when I channel collectively. There's definitely a cadence. I have another practitioner that we work with a lot in our room on Daily Kickstart, and she reads runes. And when we first met her, she was just doing the runes, which I'd never heard of until a year ago. And then over the course of the year, she's really expanded her consciousness as well. And it's allowed her access to channel. And when I listen to her, I'm like, oh, that's what I sound like, because she has a similar cadence to the way. And it's also similar to Esther Hicks from Law of Attraction, right, especially in her earlier years. I think that I would hear the cadence where she would channel. And for whatever reason, I don't know why we do that, but I guess it's just part of the journey.
Well, I think that because how I do it is that it's receiving this big download. Like Esther talks about, she receives these blocks of thoughts. And so it's the blocks of thought and getting it out there. What I think is fun is the different energies and personalities that these different beings have. Like Merlin, when I channel him, he is funny, he is forceful. Apollo is very strong and yet not that humorous. So they all have their different personalities, and that's kind of fun, feeling that in your body.
Yeah, and the spirits on the other side, they keep their personalities. So that's how I'm able to know who somebody is. Because if someone says, oh, I'm looking for my dad, and then I'm like, okay, let me see if I can access it. And then all of a sudden it'll be like, I'll start to feel like the energy of their spirit, and whether they were like big and boisterous, or whether they were like, small and they would stay hidden, whether they were shy and maybe they, this whole thing is even weird for them and they're not sure how to do it. And you really can pick up the energetic imprint of that person. And that was interesting to learn even about how we do keep our personality. So when I cross over into the non-physical world, I'll still be all of those things I built up along the way. I'll just be without my fear. And because that's really what we're learning about on this planet is how to overcome fear. So it's nice. And I think it's comforting for people to understand that their loved ones, it's not the end. It's just a change in circumstance for them. And it'll never replace the physical. I mean, I know this because I've had my own losses in life. It'll never replace our physical conversations, our hugs, our kisses, all of that stuff. But it is comforting on this human journey to know that our loved ones are in spirit and that they're not gone. They are just in a whole new adventure.
Now, have you heard from your father and your brother?
Yeah, it is challenging, I think, to hold space sometimes with those who you have lost in your own personal reality. Mm-hmm. So it can be challenging sometimes to bring forth my dad. Like I can't channel my dad. I can't channel my brother, but I can talk to them. So I've definitely had conversations. I've created safe spaces where I can have conversation with them in spirit. So I have, scenarios where I'll go to them. I definitely will hear them every now and again. We're just a a word or a phrase or something will come through. We have signs and symbols. So my brother is the blue jay, and my dad is the, I was going to say mockingbird, but the morning bird, the morning dove. So whenever I see this morning dove, like, and I see it a lot, like wherever I go, I was just last weekend, I was with some family and we were at a arts fair. And of course, there's this little morning dove at the top of this roof of some store, and he's cooing away up there. And I'm sure nobody else would have noticed it or paid attention. But I was like, oh, there's my dad watching over us, letting us know he's around. So I connect to them in that way. So I don't know if you have had any of those difficult losses in your life and you're able to connect to them in that way too.
No. Yeah, I don't know what I will do when that day comes. Yeah, sure, there have been some losses, but no one close like that. And it had to be so hard.
It is hard. It's hard, as I said, like not having them in the physical is definitely hard. But, my brother said to me before he died, if you live a crappy life, and he probably said a swear word, but I'll just say it that way. If you live a crappy life, I'll be pissed. And I really took that to heart. I was like, okay. And I remember it, like, it's emotional for me because my brother was, at the time, he was 47 years old and I was 40 something at the time. And he asked me, just like a couple weeks before he died, he's like, will you come sit on my lap? I mean, I'd never sat on my brother's lap, even when I was a little girl. And he said, will you come sit on my lap? And I just remember sitting on his lap. I can see it in my mind now. And him saying to me, if you live a crappy life, I'm going to be pissed off and you have to take care of mom and dad. And I was like, okay. And then even after my dad died, because he struggled with mental illness after losing his firstborn son, I just thought to myself, well, first of all, I don't want that to be my experience. I don't want to go down the path of suicide. I've dealt with anxiety and depression throughout my life, especially when I was pregnant. And I just don't want that to be. And at the time I had a son. My son was, I guess, how old was he? About 18 months at the time when my dad passed, maybe a little bit older, 2.5. No, I'm trying to think. My brother he was about 2 when my brother passed. He was about 4 when my dad passed. And I just was like, I have to be here for my son. So I'm going to do anything it takes to, first of all, get myself out of this anxiety and depression. And second of all, to honor my brother who asked me to not live a crappy life. And so that's what I've really done. And that's what I shift into. And when I get into modes of where I'm not happy or I'm feeling like defeated or deflated in life, the universe will come along and bring you reverence again. And that's what happened to me. I haven't been sick in 4 years. Like I don't get colds. I'm very health conscious. I don't have any chemicals in my house. I don't use a lot of like pharmaceutical stuff. I'm a plant-based eater. And so I've been healthy for so long, but my son got a cold at school and well, guess who got a cold for the first time in 4 years? And I was so miserable. And it was really only for like, I don't know, maybe 24 hours that I was really feeling like the worst headache. And I just was asking, like, what is this teaching me? I know there's a lesson in this and I want to find that lesson because I know that's part of the process here as souls being human. And what I got was, it's because you forgot to have reverence for life again. You forgot to wake up in the morning and be grateful. And when you are not well, when your health is not well, it's the first thing to remind you like, wow, I really want to own and appreciate what I have. And so I shifted back into that, did all the woo and did all the practical and medicinal and holistic things to get myself well. And now I know I'm a little hoarse today, but I feel like $1 million, thankfully. So I took the lesson and I will shift yet again back into that reverence for life, that I just appreciate every moment, even the hard ones that we have on this planet.
Well, I have to tell you, you sound like Lauren Bacall. It sounds really sexy.
That's why I keep drinking water. I feel bad because I don't like to while I'm doing this, but my throat needs it.
I know. Then it makes me it reminds me, oh, I need to drink water too. So I take a little water break. Here we go. So you came into this, stepped into this gift fairly late in life, right? After great tragedy. You probably had no idea that this was going to be your path.
Zero. No.
None. So were you raised in a household, raised in a way in which this would be okay?
Good question. Well, I definitely had 0% that I knew that I would be doing this. I always knew I was going to be an entertainment reporter. It's what I wanted to do since I was 6 years old. And my dad took me to the local radio station that he worked in the building above this station, the television station, KDKA in Pittsburgh. And I was like obsessed with the lights and the cameras. And I was like, that's what I want to do. And like legit, never, ever, ever did I think I would do this. But it was as I took my healer's journey, and I started working with a spiritual life coach, this amazing woman named Kim Stanwood Terranova. She helped me discover what was happening, why I was getting these sensations and words and phrases and things coming to me, and these feelings that I could tell when someone had died in something. She helped me unlock that and understand that. And then I think what happened is just as I began to heal, I just wanted everybody to heal. I wanted everybody to know that there was a different way to get out of, grief and sadness and anxiety and depression. And that really became my why. And that's when I started stepping forward into it. And as more of these abilities started opening, I was like, I want to help people. I mean, not everybody can do this, but not everybody will do it. And some people don't want to do it and will never even know that it exists. But because I'm that one rung up the ladder, I feel like, what I share can be so impactful and powerful. And then to go back to your question about my family, my mom, love her to pieces. I still think she thinks I'm cuckoo and crazy. I will come to her and tell her these most epic, amazing things about what goes on in the work that I do. And she's always like, oh, that's interesting. Oh, wow, that's crazy. Wow, I can't believe it. Like she's like, she gets it, but it's definitely not her jam. And that's totally fine. My dad, I don't know. He never saw this part of me. He never met this side of me. I never was on the journey when he was alive, and nor my brother. So I really don't know. But I wasn't raised in any way that you have to be one religion. I mean, I was raised culturally Jewish, but it didn't. While I had no issue with it, it just didn't speak to me. So it wasn't something that I followed. And so I don't think it wasn't forced upon me in any way. It was just like, you get to be your own person. And so I was able to do that without shame or regrets or anything. And I think that's what happens to many people, is if they are raised in a certain way and they're told like, this is the way, then it can be very difficult to, unravel. It's like smushing the grapes, as we were saying. Like, you've got a lot of more smushed grapes than I had. I only had like half a barrel. Somebody else maybe had a full barrel. So for me, it was easier. I think if my dad, was around, I think he would be my biggest fan, the same way that he was my biggest fan when I worked in Hollywood, and he saved all of my TV episodes and every show I was ever acted on or hosted or as a correspondent. I think he would save it all and he would back me, even if he didn't understand it nor care. I think he still would have showed up for me, because that was just his personality. He was a very proud dad.
Oh yeah, that is awesome. I'm here in Missouri. I don't know if you knew that. I'm in Missouri, and actually my office is on the Kansas side. That's neither here nor there. Buckle in the Bible Belt, right? Mm-hmm. This is the buckle in the Bible Belt. Can't tell you how many people I have coming in who are wounded from their spiritual upbringing, who have actual trauma of the religious variety. It's crazy. I bet you don't get many of those in California where you are.
Well, I'm not in California anymore. So, yeah, I mean, definitely a liberal minded, and certainly more open-minded to things like that. And they love the trends. So I wouldn't say that so many are on the enlightening journey as more on the spiritual journey of like crystals and self-care and yoga and meditation. So I think it's just that spectrum of where people are on that journey. Where I live now, there's more of a mix of people here, but I do find that you attract what you are. So I have been attracting people who are at least more open to the process, even if it doesn't land. But listen, I've had people tell me that they've bought my book and either thrown it in the trash or thrown it at the wall and never picked it back up again. And that's fine. Like, that's your journey. And then I've had people who've said, I've thrown your book in the trash. And then eventually I picked it back up. And then I realized that what you were saying was true. So, and that's my journey too. I remember picking up A Course in Miracles back in the beginning of my journey. I went to Barnes and Noble's and I took it home and unwrapped it. And I was like, I don't get it. I just do not get it. And so I just took it back to the store. And I would say it took me about a year. And then I was like, I feel like I need to read this Course in Miracles again, and I need to get through it. So I went back to the store and I finally did it. And it took me 18 months to read that book. It's dense. Yeah, it's dense. And then I'm on year 5 of actually doing the lessons every day. So I continue to do the lessons, but it definitely took me time. And I just think that everybody's journey is unique, and, you know, it's based on the choices that we make. And so wherever you are in the journey, it's all good. Like, you chose it, and where you are in the ladder is perfect, exactly as you are. So if somebody comes to me and they're a skeptic or they get mad, then I just see them as, this is part of your journey and it's all good.
Absolutely. And what part of the country are you located?
Now I'm in Florida.
Oh, lovely. Yeah. What part of Florida?
I am in South Florida.
Nice. Okay. Yes, yeah. I've got some contacts down there. So you've got a daily Kickstart program. You've got basically kind of like a podcast. Okay. So it's on Clubhouse, and I have no idea how to do Clubhouse. So what would you describe that program as?
So Clubhouse is a social audio app. It's an amazing way to communicate with people. And the greatest thing about Clubhouse is that you don't have to put on hair and makeup. You can be in your jammies, your sweats, and you can just put your headphones or your AirPods in and connect to people. It's like a group chat, but in its own private space. And it's got like everyone's like pictures, headshots, whatever it is. So you can actually see who's speaking. And it's really clear audio. So we've been doing it for over a year, almost a year and a half now. Wow. And it just started as a way to like wake up and inspire one another. We call it an hour of power and inspiration exchange, where we were just sharing our ideas for personal transformation. We started with, it wasn't even my room initially that I started. It was this other woman, Amber J. Lawson, who's the CEO of Comedy Gives Back, an organization that helps comedians who are struggling in Hollywood. And then this other former rugby player, Mark Strabina, who was into personal transformation, leadership development. And Amber J. also was in that program as well. And so that's it. And then he pinged me into the room. I showed up. We started talking, and then more people showed up, and we were all just exchanging ideas. And then eventually Mark got called to a job in Austin doing rugby, doing commentary. So then I took over as the moderator, and we really cultivated a community of like-minded souls who are trying to transform their life through whatever processes that we can bring to them. So we do transformational leaders. We talk to all things spiritual and woo-woo. We do workshops on fear. And, you know, people come back every single day because it's like your spiritual self-care. And to give yourself, whether some people come for, 30 minutes of it, some stay for the whole hour. It's just really a way to help elevate your consciousness, to make that choice to show up for yourself. And I've seen people transform their lives through the course of even just coming to Daily Kickstart every day. So I'm really proud of what we cultivated. And our hope is actually to have it be like a morning radio show somewhere. That's where we're trying to get it to go.
Oh, that's really nice. Yes, that's dedication to do that every morning at the same time.
Yeah. Yes. But you know what? As I said, you don't have to put your clothes on. You like, if it was this every day on camera, it'd be a little more challenging. I have to show up. And so it's easy to just get on the phone. So, and we have someone who helps us now get our guests in, which makes it a lot easier. And we get to find amazing guests like you, because you're going to be coming on.
I am going to be coming on. I'm not sure what the time is going to be with when this podcast comes out, but we'll cross promote each other. And you said you also have a group that you're teaching. You have got a program. Is this the 1 year long, basically zero to spiritual, fulfillment?
Yeah. So it's in my Infinite Abilities program. I teach that. I also do group, readings and things like that, which I do on Zoom and obviously in person, which only more recently started. And then I do have like a one-on-one program, a 6-month transformational program that I do as well. And then I do just one-off readings. The one-off readings are great, but I've found that if you're really looking for a transformation, you have to be consistent with it. So that's why I started offering these larger programs. I mean, I know for me personally, what changed my life was the consistency. Like there's not a day in 9 years' time that I haven't done something for me on a spiritual level, whether it's reading a book, whether it's writing my books, whether it's journaling, whether it's meditation, whether it's teaching meditation, whether it's working with clients, because we're all both student and teacher. So when I'm working with someone, I'm learning just as much from them. I've learned so much from other people's loved ones who have crossed on that I never would have accessed had they not come to me. Like it's like putting pieces of the puzzle together every time somebody shows up for a reading and I'm able to connect to someone in spirit. I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. Okay, now I know that. So I'm always grateful for those one-on-one readings. But I hope that people will dedicate more time to this spiritual transformation.
Absolutely. I agree. So it's been wonderful connecting with you. So we can listen to you on the daily Kickstarter on Clubhouse, 9 a.m. Central Time. And then your website, would you like to plug your website?
Yeah, so laurasaltman.com. And if you're interested in finding out how to work with me, you go to laurasaltman.com/work with me. If you're interested in finding out about the Infinite Abilities course, there's a link for that as well. My next one's starting in June. So, and I have some spots open for that. So hop into there. Hopefully this will air before that.
I think you will.
Yeah. If not, then I'll be doing it. I'll probably do it 3 times a year. So I'll have different groups that I'll be working with throughout the year. So if you missed one, just keep looking for another one.
Oh, that's awesome. And then all of your books are on your website.
Yes, and my books are all on Amazon. Just go to Amazon.com or Barnes & Nobles, Walmart, all the places you can find books. That's where they are.
Right. LauraSaltman.com. Laura, thank you so much for radiating belief with me today. This has been a lot of fun. I love what you do.
Thank you. And we're excited to have you on the DK with us.
The DK.
That's what we call it, the DK.
Yes, May 4th. May the 4th be with us.
Oh, I love that. May the 4th be with us. Well, let's theme it about that too. Let's make sure that we theme it about that, like May the 4th be with us, but it's like about, your inner Jedi.
Oh, I love that. Oh, that's great. Perfect. That's
my TV producer mind.
There you go. No, that's perfect. Good. Well, I'll see you then. And this should be coming out about the same time.
Okay. Fantastic. All right. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Radiate Wellness is an international community of holistic and alternative healers dedicated to helping you create spiritual, energetic, and physical well-being. To learn more about our practitioners, services, classes, and events, or to schedule an appointment, visit us at radiatewellnesscommunity.com.